Konnichiwa friends, I am Sekai X Arts and Animations, and today I am going to give you some do's, don'ts, tips, and tricks for drawing noses. Just a little caveat here, these are all things that I have learned and found interesting and or helpful. If you disagree or know a different or better way, that's fine, that's great. I'm just putting what I know out there to help those who might need it. First off, I'm just going to lay out all the different kinds of noses that I know of, just so that we can see them all and analyze them. I'm not going to talk about different ways to shade noses just yet, I'll do that in a minute. This section is just for nose shapes. Number 1, you have probably noticed that there is nothing here. That's because the first type of nose I'm going to talk about today is the nun nose. I've decided I'm going to discuss each type of nose in ascending order of detail and complexity, so, naturally, the no nose is the first on the list. This works really well when you have a very simple art style, as it just helps keep everything nice and easy, but it also works with styles that emphasize other areas of the face, like the mouth or the eyes, and that's all an art style is really, different ways of emphasizing or de-emphasizing parts of the body, objects, or environments. I don't know if YouTube lets me put up pictures of copyrighted characters, but just to be safe, I'll only mention them. Shows that make use of the nun nose are ones like Powerpuff Girls and Adventure Time and some forms of chibi anime. Next up is the dot nose. No, this isn't where the nose is a little circle. I'll get to that one later. This is where the nose is just a little ink dot. That's it. You've probably seen it a lot in anime, and just like the no nose, it works best when paired with styles that emphasize other parts of the face. We do get a little bit more creative freedom here, as we can move a dot up and down the face though, to get different effects. The next step up from the dot nose is the straight line nose. This is very similar in its uses to the dot nose, but we get just a little bit more characterization with this nose. By changing the length of this line, we can change the perception of how long or short the character's nose is. If you're wanting to do traditional anime, I would probably recommend this nose over the dot nose because it's not any harder to draw and it just gives you that ounce more control in the character's design. It also works with simple cartoon styles, but not as simple as Adventure Time. Some examples of this nose are the earlier seasons of Haikyuu. Next up, we have what I'm going to call the one-line nose. This is just what it sounds like. You can draw the nose in one line. However, we get a lot more flexibility here, as that one line can be pretty much anything. It could be a crescent shape, or a curve, or a hook, or a corner. This one works really well with American cartoon styles. It doesn't really work as well with anime. Shows that use this are Gravity Falls, Lolly Rock, and Winx Club. And you can see just by looking up pictures of all three of these different shows, even though each nose is just one fluid line movement, you can get wildly different results. Next, we have the shape nose. This can be any basic shape, a triangle, a circle, an oval, a heart, or even make up your own. This can have a really cute effect. It's usually used with really cute stylized styles where the nose is really the focus. I've seen it in Over the Garden Wall and in Animal Crossing. In addition, you can give the noses cute colors because in styles where this nose would be used, it usually doesn't look strange actually. Typically, this can be used in very cartoony styles where it doesn't feel out of place to have a square for a nose. While this does have a lot of creative liberty, it really only works for very specific styles. I mean, it would look really weird for a super realistic person or an anime boy to have an oval nose. Even though anime is really stylized and cartoony, the shape nose just doesn't really work for it all that well. Next up, we have the nostril nose. That's it, it's just the nostrils. This one looks really nice if you want to have a slightly more involved, is that the right word, nose than the one-line nose, and the shape nose just doesn't work with your style. It works with almost every style actually, which is really nice. Unfortunately, all your characters will end up having the same nose, which isn't a huge deal, but it is something to keep in mind. Some good examples of this nose is in Ever After High, Time Princess, and Naruto. Here we have the contour line nose. This is just one step above the nostril nose where we add in just a little line to indicate how the rest of the nose looks. This is kind of like a hybrid between the nostril and the one-line nose, but it is a little more limited than the one line. The contour line here can be short, long, straight, curved, or whatever. It's all about just giving us that little extra piece of information. If you like the nostril nose but fear same face syndrome, then this could be a really nice choice for you. It goes well with realistically proportioned cartoon styles. Some examples of this being used is in like Disney XD's Marvel shows such as Ultimate Spider-Man and Avengers Assemble. It is also seen in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. On a slightly different note, there's the bean nose. They come in a lot of really fun, unique shapes and sizes. They point up, hook down, and stick out. Most of these noses I have been drawing from the front, but these I decided to draw from the profile just because their uniqueness comes across better from that angle. These noses are typically used in really fun or funny cartoon styles. Think like Phineas and Ferb, Super Mario, and some Cuphead villains like Bedevil, Hildeberg, and Chef Saltbaker. Next is my personal favorite and the one that I use in my style, which is the plain nose. Basically, you draw the nostril and add some contour lines that define the planes of the nose. You can create all sorts of fun and unique shapes with this one. It works really nicely with more realistic styles and detailed anime styles, which is what I classify my style as. Some artists who use this are Sam Does Arts and Feng Zhao. Lastly, we have the realistic nose. Drawing this involves building the nose from simple shapes and then forming them into a more realistic form, and of course pulling references from pictures of real people. This nose is really versatile, as it can be literally any nose that you see in real life. However, its downfall comes from the fact that it can't really be anything stylized. In light of this, it works well with realistic or at least realistically proportioned styles. Some examples of this are the older Disney movies like Atlantis, 101 Dalmatians, and the old Disney princess movies like Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast. Here I just lined up all the noses that I talked about so that you could see them all at once. I also marked the last couple just to show they have a little bit more room for creativity. I guess the shape nose can also be pretty versatile though. I'm sure that there are some noses that I forgot, but here are all the ones that I could think of. If you're having trouble drawing noses in your style, you can try to categorize your style and pick a nose from this list and see how it goes. Just as a last quick little note, I wanted to list some of the ways I found to shade noses. There's just scribbling/hatching, scribbling on the bottom of a nose, the anime style side shading, cell shading on the bottom of the nose, full shadows with just a little highlight, and soft shading and then erasing, which is my favorite and what I use. Oh, there's also just the blushy nose. Nose shading though isn't dependent on what type of nose you pick, but rather how your style shades, so there's not really much specific advice I can give you here. This was mostly a finding your nose style video rather than how to draw them, as I focused mostly on tips and tricks rather than do's and don'ts. I'll probably make a proper nose tutorial one day. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you all in the next one.